100 years ago, not far from here in southeast London, in a place called Brockley, something began. A movement started, and I want to tell you a bit about that and a little bit about me and why it relates to me at all. So around that time, there had been, at the turn of the century, a few groups that realized that kids who were growing up in cities needed to get into nature and were losing the sense of what it means to be in the woods. We call it today bushcraft, but you know, that connection with nature and how to survive in the woods, how to survive without modern amenities. And after the First World War, we lost a huge number of young men in particular. And the Scouts, organisations like the Scouts, decided that one of the things that they needed to do was create more soldiers in case there was another war. The Scouts was only for boys, it was religiously affiliated, and it had this now militaristic aspect to it. And not everybody who was involved in these things wanted to stay connected with that. And so lots of little offshoot organisations formed, one of which was called the Kindred of the Kibokif, and rather unfortunate name because of the three-letter acronym. But basically, this organisation was a little bit strange, if I'm honest with you. But a lot of organisations have strange roots. It was a bit of a strange organisation, but they spent a lot of time out in the woods and getting kids involved, and this was for boys and girls, and it was very much about peace, and it was about nature, and it was quite a different movement. And there were some disagreements in that movement, and one significant moment in 1925, this disagreement led to a group walking away from the fire, walking away from the campfire, and saying, we're going to start another group. And a guy called Leslie Paul said, you know, who's coming with me? And then a bunch of people went, and they started this new thing. They called it the Brockley thing, and they got some money from our Woolwich cooperative, again not far from here in southeast London, and they bought some tents, and those tents enabled a bunch of kids from southeast London to go camping, and so was born this Brockley thing, which they called it because it was a thing in Brockley, and it became the Woodcraft Folk. Woodcraft Folk was an organisation that I have been in since I was a small child, since I was about 6 years old. And this year, Woodcraft Folk is celebrating its centenary year. 100 years of being a young people's movement for social change and for cooperative education. I've learned so much from being in Woodcraft Folk. I learned about cooperation, I learned about values, I learned about looking after refugees, I learned about looking after our world and our environment. I learned about being an activist for peace and for inclusion. Woodcraft Folk has always included boys and girls. It's welcomed people of all faiths and none. And latterly, it's also been inclusive to people from, always has been inclusive to people from the LGBTQ community. It certainly was a lot of my first experiences of meeting people in that community, but also today very inclusive of people from people who are neurodivergent. So it's always been about including people, it's always been about loving world and creating a better world. And one of the ways that we've been doing that is through singing. At Woodcraft, we've always sang, and I remember at my very first international camp 30 years ago, watching this man called George, this young man, he was a teenager, a couple of years older than me, and I remember watching him around, you know, the campfire, and he was invited to play songs. There were grown-ups that did it, but this was like a teenager doing it. Oh, do you know what, if George can do it, I can do it too. And so I wanted to be part of that. And one of the things that I did is I went home and I started learning the guitar. Now fast forward 30 years, and here I am today releasing the official Camp 100 song for the centenary year camp for this year. It's a pinch me moment, to be honest with you. It's called Singing for a New World. It's out today, and I know that groups up and down the country have already been learning it. And in a few weeks' time at the camp's opening ceremony, I'm going to be helping 2,000 people to sing it for the very first time together. Singing for a New World comes from this line from the envoy about we shall go singing to the fashioning of a new world. That's kind of like our creed, and that's a big part of it. We've been singing for 100 years, and we're going to be singing for another 100, and we're hoping that, and we know that singing is not just a vain hope, it's actually something that really educates us, it forms us, and it gives us hope, even in the most challenging of times. I hope you'll hear the song, and thank you for listening for my story time.